Why does your mind keep going back to the same people, even when they are no longer in your life? Why do certain moments replay themselves so easily, as if they never really ended? It can feel confusing because on the surface, nothing is happening anymore. That chapter is closed. That conversation is over. That situation no longer exists in your present life. And yet, inside your mind, it is still active, still repeating, still shaping how you feel when you are alone. The strange part is, it doesn't always feel like a choice. The thoughts just appear, the memories return, and before you realize it, you are back inside something you thought you had already moved past. Welcome to Mindfulness. In this video, we will explore 7 Buddhist lessons that help you step out of that cycle, not by forcing yourself to forget, but by understanding how the mind holds on and how it can learn to release. If you are ready to feel lighter, stay with this, and let's begin. Lesson 1. The mind recreates what is already over. The mind does not experience time the way reality does. In reality, things begin and end. A conversation happens, then it finishes. A person is part of your life, then they leave. A situation unfolds, then it passes. But the mind does not always accept endings. Instead, it reopens what has already closed. It brings back moments and places you inside them again, as if they are still happening. You remember what was said, how it felt, what you wish you had done differently. And in that moment, your body reacts as if it is real. This is why something that ended months or even years ago can still affect you today. Not because it is still happening, but because your mind keeps recreating it. Buddhist teachings point to this very clearly. Suffering continues when the mind refuses to let an experience complete itself. When you revisit something repeatedly, you interrupt its natural ending. You keep it active, not in the world, but inside you. This is not something you are doing on purpose. It is a habit of the mind. It tries to understand, to fix, to find closure. But in doing so, it keeps returning to the same place without ever arriving at peace. The shift begins when you notice this pattern. The next time your mind brings something back, pause and ask yourself a simple question. Is this happening right now? Not as a way to dismiss the feeling, but to see clearly what is real and what is being recreated. When you recognize that you are inside a memory and not inside reality, something softens. The intensity begins to reduce. You are no longer completely absorbed in it, you are aware of it. This awareness does not erase the memory. It changes your relationship to it. Instead of stepping into it fully, you begin to stand slightly outside it. You see it as something that is appearing in your mind, not something you are living through again. Over time, this creates space, and in that space, the past is allowed to remain where it belongs. Not denied, not suppressed, but no longer carried into every present moment. Lesson 2. The mind holds on because it seeks completion. There is a reason certain people and problems stay in your mind longer than others. It is not always because they were the most important. It is often because they feel unfinished. The mind is drawn to what feels incomplete. It returns to moments where something was left unsaid, where there was no clear ending, where understanding never fully arrived. It keeps going back, trying to complete the experience. You replay conversations, searching for a better response. You imagine different outcomes, hoping to reach a version where things make sense. You analyze actions, trying to find a clear explanation. But the mind rarely finds what it is looking for. Because not everything in life comes with a clean ending. Buddhist wisdom teaches that the need for completion is one of the quiet forces behind mental suffering. The mind believes that if it can just understand fully, it will finally be at peace. But peace does not come from resolving every question. It comes from accepting that some questions will remain open. When you expect every experience to give you closure, you stay tied to it. You keep returning, hoping this time it will feel complete. But there is another way. Instead of trying to complete the experience in your mind, you allow it to remain incomplete without resistance. This is not easy at first. The mind will continue to pull you back. It will suggest that there is still something to figure out, something to solve. But notice what happens when you stop engaging with that impulse. The thought appears, but you do not follow it into analysis. The memory returns, but you do not try to rewrite it. The question arises, but you do not demand an answer. You let it exist without finishing it. And slowly, something changes. The need to return becomes weaker. The urgency to understand begins to fade. The experience starts to lose its grip, not because it was resolved, but because you stopped insisting that it must be. This is a different kind of closure. It does not come from answers. It comes from acceptance. Lesson 3. You are not thinking about them. You are thinking about a version of them. When someone occupies your mind, it feels like you are thinking about them. But if you look closely, you are not thinking about the person as they are right now. You are thinking about a version of them that exists in your memory. That version is made from past moments, from specific conversations, expressions, and emotions. It is shaped by how they made you feel, by what you expected, by what you wished had happened. Over time, this version becomes fixed. But people in reality are not fixed. They change, they move on, they become something different from what you remember. The version in your mind does not. This is why thinking about someone can feel so intense. You are not interacting with a real, changing person. You are interacting with a stable, repeated image that never updates. Buddhist teachings often point out that attachment is not to things as they are, but to how we hold them in the mind. You are not holding on to the person. You are holding on to your internal representation of them. And because that representation is built from emotional memory, it carries a strong charge. It feels personal, immediate, and real. But it is still a construction. When you begin to see this, the relationship changes. The next time the person appears in your thoughts, take a moment to observe what you are actually seeing. Notice the details. Notice how familiar it feels, how consistent it is. Then ask yourself, is this who they are right now, or is this who they were in my experience? This question does not remove the feeling instantly, but it introduces clarity. It reminds you that what you are engaging with is not the present reality of that person. It is a mental image shaped by the past. And once you see it as an image, something shifts. Images do not need to be held onto. They can be allowed to fade, not forced away, but no longer treated as something that must stay. Over time, the emotional intensity reduces. The mind stops returning as often, and the person who once felt constantly present begins to take up less space, not because they changed, but because you stopped relating to the image as if it was still alive. Lesson 4. Repetition creates emotional weight. Not every thought feels heavy the first time it appears. A memory comes and it passes. A concern arises and it fades. On its own, a single thought rarely has much power. What gives it weight is repetition. When the mind returns to the same thought again and again, it begins to build something around it. The thought becomes familiar. The familiarity becomes important. And what feels important starts to carry emotional weight. This is how something small becomes something difficult to let go of. You are not just remembering once, you are revisiting many times. Each visit adds another layer, another reaction, another interpretation. Over time, the mind starts to treat that thought as something significant, not because of what it is, but because of how often it has been repeated. Buddhist teachings describe this as a form of conditioning. The mind strengthens whatever it practices. If it practices returning to the same person or problem, it becomes skilled at doing exactly that. And once a pattern becomes strong, it begins to feel automatic. You may notice this when a certain thought appears without any clear reason. You are not trying to think about it, yet it comes. This is not because the thought is important in the present moment. It is because it has been repeated enough to become a habit. Understanding this changes how you respond. Instead of asking, "Why does this keep happening to me?" you begin to see, this is something my mind has practiced many times. And what is practiced can also be unpracticed. The way to do this is not by force. Trying to block a thought often makes it stronger. Resistance adds more attention, and attention strengthens the pattern. The shift is more subtle. When the thought appears, you recognize it. You see that it is familiar, that it has been here before. But instead of continuing the pattern, you do something different. You do not follow it. You allow it to be present without adding to it. No analysis, no replay, no expansion. At first, it feels incomplete. The mind wants to continue the pattern. It expects the usual reaction. But when that reaction does not come, something begins to change. The pattern weakens. Each time you do not repeat the cycle, you reduce its strength. Not immediately, not dramatically, but gradually. And over time, what once felt heavy begins to feel lighter. Not because the thought disappeared completely, but because it is no longer being reinforced. The emotional weight fades when repetition stops. Lesson 5. You are trying to solve what cannot be solved. When the mind holds on to a problem, it often feels like it is doing something useful. It feels like you are thinking through it, trying to understand it, trying to reach a conclusion. There is a sense that if you just stay with it a little longer, something will click. But notice what actually happens. You think about the same situation again and again, yet the clarity you are searching for does not fully arrive. The mind circles around the same points, revisits the same details, reaches the same partial conclusions, and still it returns. This is because not every problem in the mind is meant to be solved. Some situations do not have a clear explanation. Some people act in ways that cannot be fully understood. Some endings do not offer the closure you expect. But the mind does not accept this easily. It is designed to look for patterns, for reasons, for answers. When something feels unresolved, it keeps working on it as if it were a puzzle that must be completed. The difficulty is that the puzzle may not have all the pieces. Buddhist wisdom often points to this as a source of unnecessary suffering. The mind continues working on something that cannot be finished, and in doing so, it creates ongoing tension. You may feel this as restlessness, a sense that something is not settled. a quiet pressure to keep thinking. But what if the problem is not that you have not thought enough? What if the problem is that you are trying to think your way through something that cannot be resolved through thinking? When you begin to see this, a different option becomes available. Instead of continuing to search for the final answer, you step back from the need to find it. The thought may still arise, the question may still be there, but you no longer treat it as something that must be solved right now. You allow it to remain unanswered. This is not giving up. It is recognizing the limit of what thinking can do. There are things in life that can be understood through reflection, and there are things that can only be released through acceptance. When you stop trying to force clarity, the pressure begins to ease. The mind no longer needs to keep returning to the same place. And in that space, something unexpected happens. You begin to feel a quiet sense of relief. Not because you found the answer, but because you stopped searching for one that was never there. Lesson 6. You keep returning because it feels like control. There is something subtle happening when your mind goes back to the same person or the same problem. It does not only return out of habit, it also returns because, in a quiet way, it feels like you are doing something. When you think about a situation repeatedly, it can feel like you are staying connected to it, like you are still involved, like you are not completely powerless. There is a sense that by revisiting it, you are maintaining some kind of control. You go over what happened. You analyze it from different angles. You imagine how it could have gone differently. You replay conversations and adjust your responses in your mind. And in those moments, it feels active. It feels like you are engaged with something that once mattered. But if you look more closely, you may begin to notice something else. Nothing is actually changing. The situation is not shifting. The person is not responding. The outcome is not being altered. Everything remains exactly as it is. The only thing that is moving is your mind. Buddhist teachings often speak about the illusion of control. The mind prefers to feel that it can influence things, even when it cannot. It would rather keep thinking than accept that something is already finished, because accepting an ending requires letting go of control. And letting go of control can feel uncomfortable. It can feel like you are giving something up, like you are leaving something unresolved, like you are no longer holding on to something that once felt important. So instead, the mind keeps returning, not because it is finding answers, but because it is avoiding the discomfort of acceptance. But here is the deeper truth. Control, in this case, is not real. It is only a feeling created by repeated thinking, and that feeling comes at a cost. Every time you go back, you reopen something that cannot move forward. You place your attention into something that no longer exists in the present. You keep yourself tied to a moment that has already passed. And slowly, without noticing, your energy becomes invested in something that cannot give anything back. The shift begins when you see clearly that returning does not create control. It creates attachment, and attachment keeps you in the same place. When this becomes clear, a different kind of strength becomes available, the strength to stop returning. Not because you do not care, not because it did not matter, but because you recognize that continuing to go back does not serve you. You allow the mind to want to revisit, but you do not follow that impulse. You sit with the discomfort of not solving it, of not controlling it, of not revisiting it. At first, this feels unfamiliar. The mind may resist. It may suggest that you are leaving something unfinished. But over time, something changes. The need to return weakens. The sense of urgency fades. And in place of that constant movement, there is stillness. A stillness that does not come from control, but from acceptance. And in that acceptance, you begin to feel a quiet kind of freedom. Not because everything made sense, but because you no longer need it to. Lesson 7. Your mind learns to let go when you stop following it. Letting go is often misunderstood as something you must force. People think it means pushing thoughts away, trying not to remember, trying not to feel. They believe it requires a strong effort to remove something from the mind. But if you have ever tried to force yourself not to think about something, you may have noticed the opposite happens. The thought becomes stronger, more persistent, more present. This is because the mind does not respond well to force. It responds to attention. What you resist directly, you often keep active. Buddhist wisdom offers a different approach. Instead of trying to control thoughts, it teaches you to change how you relate to them. The mind will produce thoughts. That is its nature. It will bring up memories, images, ideas, and questions. This is not something you need to stop. What matters is what you do next. When a thought appears, there is a small moment where you can either follow it or simply notice it. Most of the time, this happens so quickly that you do not see the choice. You move from thought to reaction automatically. You begin to analyze, to imagine, to replay. And within seconds, you are fully inside the thought. But if you begin to slow this process down, even slightly, something important becomes visible. You start to see the moment where the thought begins. And in that moment, you can choose not to continue it. This does not mean you reject the thought. It means you do not build on it. You allow it to be present, but you do not give it a direction. It is like hearing a sound in the distance and choosing not to walk toward it. At first, this feels unfamiliar. The mind is used to movement. It is used to continuing, expanding, developing every thought that appears. So when you do not follow, there is a sense of interruption. But this interruption is where change begins. Each time you do not follow a thought, you weaken the habit of continuing it. Each time you allow it to pass without adding to it, you reduce its influence. Over time, the mind begins to learn something new. It learns that not every thought leads somewhere. It learns that it does not need to engage with everything it creates. And slowly, the space between thoughts becomes more noticeable. The mind becomes quieter, not because it is empty, but because it is no longer constantly being extended. In that quiet, you begin to feel something that may have been missing for a long time. A sense of ease, not because life has changed, but because your relationship with your mind has changed. You are no longer pulled in every direction. You are no longer reacting to every memory or problem that appears. You remain where you are, present, steady, aware. And from this place, letting go is no longer something you try to do. It becomes something that happens naturally, because what is not followed does not stay, and what is not fed does not grow. There is nothing you need to force out of your mind, nothing you need to erase. What you are looking for is not control, but understanding. When you stop following every thought, when you stop returning to what is already over, your mind begins to settle on its own. If this spoke to you, take a moment to sit quietly and notice what your mind is holding. You may find that you don't need to carry it anymore.